We are experiencing a very early spring here where I live, and I am absolutely loving it. Windows have been open most days. It's sunny. There are flowers blooming. I have lots of beautiful, delicious, special things I'm making here in the kitchen for something special. First up, sourdough baguettes. I make these a lot whenever we want to have a picnic or just for a little variation on our usual bread. The process is similar to any sourdough bread. So you have flour, water, salt, and sourdough starter. This one is a very high hydration dough, so it takes a little bit to bring it together. I just mix the ingredients with my hands, let it auto-lease for a bit before performing stretch and folds. The way to perform stretch and folds so that the dough doesn't stick to your hands whenever it is a wetter dough is to get your hands wet first. I love this technique. Now you will see that the dough is a bit shaggy at first. After several stretch and folds, it will be smooth and glossy. I'm just gonna develop that gluten throughout the day. For the exact measurements, the recipe is over on farmhouseonboone.com. I'm not counting my stretch and folds today. I am just going until it feels smooth and glossy, which as an experienced sourdough baker, at this point, I kind of know what it needs. I'm also getting a whole bag of chickpeas going, just adding them to a bowl with fresh water and letting that sit until tomorrow. Before bed here, I'm going to get my baguette dough into the baguette pan so that it can sit overnight in the refrigerator and I can resume all of these special preparations tomorrow. I divide my baguette dough into 3 and then oil my baguette pan. I do this just so that it doesn't stick, of course. And now I'm shaping it. It's a very hydrated dough, so it can be a bit sticky. Again, wet your hands if you're having trouble handling the dough. You can either use water or you can use flour. I tend to like to add more water as opposed to more flour. Just it seems to work better, and I don't want to incorporate a whole lot of extra flour into this particular recipe. Next day, the chickpeas are ready to strain and rinse and cook and then make into what I'm making with this. I bet a lot of you can guess what that is. Next thing on the menu is my bakery style einkorn cookies. I have these einkorn cookies over on farmhouseonboone.com, but I'm making them bakery style today with a few additions. So one is I'm toasting up some coconut. This really gives a wonderful flavor and makes it a bit more special. I'm also going to make them larger, scoop them out with an ice cream scoop, and top them with flaky salt. To me, this just makes them bakery wonderful. Now, I recently purchased some butter that comes in these big long logs, so I have to measure it whenever I'm trying to get a little bit more precise by using my scale. In my kitchen today and every day, I love to source quality ingredients, and that's why I love using Thrive Market, which is the sponsor of today's video. Thrive Market is an online grocery store that specializes in natural and organic ingredients. They are membership based, so you can either pay $59.95 for the year, which is a bit of a discount. That's what I've always done, or $12 a month if you want to see if they have anything that you are sourcing for your kitchen or pantry somewhere else that's a better price or better quality on Thrive Market. I love that I can get things that I can't always find locally. I heavily rely on Thrive Market for einkorn flour, for organic maple syrup, several organic spices and snacks, supplements, collagen peptides, coffee. There are so many things that are on repeat for me. And I love that when I go on the website, I can see all the things that I buy regularly. They just show it to me at the top, so it makes it a very streamlined, very easy shopping experience. You can also sort by dietary preference. So if you are paleo, gluten-free, dairy-free, you can make it to where you only see those options on the website, and it makes it very easy for you to get your grocery shopping done. Plus, orders over $49 ship free straight to your door. That, of course, is super convenient. Thrive Market also has a price match guarantee. So if you find something locally or somewhere else and it's a better price, you can get that match on Thrive Market, so you can make sure this is a value add for you in your kitchen. Thrive Market also has a deals section. I like to, every once in a while, get on my Thrive Market app, just browse through there, see if there's anything on there that either catches my eye or something that I'm already buying that is less expensive. I have found a lot of great products that way that I didn't try before through that deals section where things are super marked down. Join Thrive Market today to get 30% off your first order plus a free gift worth up to $60 by using my link, thrivemarket.com/farmhouse on Boone. It'll also be linked down in the description box below. Whenever I am not souring something with sourdough or by soaking the grains, I love using ancient grains like einkorn because they already are easier to digest than the modern forms of gluten and grains. If you are new to using an ancient grain like einkorn, something like cookies is a great place to start. Bread takes several more considerations because the gluten structure is so much different than in modern wheat, so it can be a little bit tricky. Whereas something like a cookie, you can just use einkorn flour and hardly notice that you did, which is why I love using einkorn for cookies. We do it all the time. For these cookies, I do a stick of butter. So if you need to convert that over to grams, it is 113 grams. A half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of white sugar, an egg, a teaspoon of vanilla, 2 cups of all-purpose einkorn flour. You could also use whole grain einkorn flour without much consequence, and that would be a very healthy thing to do. A half a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm adding about a half cup each of toasted coconut and a half cup of dark chocolate chips. I'm going to let these einkorn cookies chill in the fridge. Best results, that's what you'll want to do, while I work on my sourdough baguettes. The way to bake something like sourdough baguettes that aren't going to be in a closed Dutch oven, you'll want that steam and you'll want that heat. So what I do is I preheat a cast iron skillet, or you can preheat a pizza stone, that's what I have today, and then put the baguette pan directly on top of that. That helps to retain some heat. And the way to add steam is by putting boiling water into the oven. So I like to get some water boiling in my cast iron skillet. That way it retains the heat to keep it boiling throughout the baking process. Scientifically, the way that this helps is instead of a skin forming right away on the bread, steam and moisture prevent that from happening so that it can continue to expand. So that's why you will see that oven spring. You'll put something that looks pretty flat into the oven, into your cast iron Dutch oven, and your bread will pop open and rise through the scoring that you put in it. The same thing happens with the baguettes, but since it's not inside and the steam that the bread makes is not trapped in there, you'll want to add some additional steam. So I also like to get some more water boiling and continue to add that throughout the process. Another special treat for my special surprise is chocolate covered strawberries. I put a stainless bowl over top of some boiling water to melt the chocolate and dipping in some strawberries. What could be more simple, but also more special, more beautiful and delicious. I have more steam going into the oven to really make these baguettes pop open, which will make for some really lovely sandwiches. Next, I'm moving on to, you guessed it, hummus. Now that these chickpeas are done, I'm going to make a big batch of hummus, which means that we're going to be eating this for more than just a special occasion, but for a lot of meals. So I start with some tahini. I'm not really measuring, just estimating. Also, constantly looking out the window to see if the person I am doing a surprise for is pulling into the driveway. Oddly enough, so he didn't really know about this. That's why it's a surprise. He decided to take all of the kids with him into town to go on a walk for about an hour or so while I finish up my kitchen work. So it is crunch time. I'm going to try to get all of this made in the fridge, hidden in various places, and the kitchen entirely cleaned up in a very short amount of time. So I'm up against the clock, but a mom who has little time can really get some serious stuff done. For the rest of the hummus ingredients, I added in lime juice. It's supposed to be lemon juice. I had a lemon, can't find it. I'm assuming one of the kids must have taken it. I should have gotten more lemons because my kids really like lemons. And I didn't mention to anybody that it was for a recipe. Cumin, salt, olive oil, a little bit more olive oil, a little bit more salt as I taste it. And of course, did I say chickpeas? Obviously chickpeas. I also purchased for this special event some to-go plastic containers because of the nature of what we will be doing. Okay, it's time to fill you in on the special surprise. It is Luke's 40th birthday, and he is not used to having 80-degree days on his 40th birthday, or sorry, on any birthday. He's on his 40th birthday though. I actually looked up what the record high is since he's been born, and this is the year. So way back in early December, I texted my mother-in-law and said, hey, will you be available on this date in like 2 months to watch all the kids? I'm even going to leave Victor. I'm going to pump milk. He'll be 7 months old at that time. We are going to leave him because for the day, not the night, just all day, I want to go somewhere with Luke, just the two of us, for his 40th birthday. And his mom said, of course, I'll be available. So I didn't really know what we were going to do. Since his birthday is in winter, I assumed that we would go probably to like some shops or, out to eat, just meander around. When it's two people who have 8 kids, you don't have to really worry about the plans, just being together without kids. Even driving, we love driving around, and just listening to music is good enough for us. But as the day approached, I checked the 10-day forecast, and sure enough, it was going to be the warmest day of this entire winter. It was over 80 degrees. And Luke is a true outdoorsman. He loves all things outdoors. So yeah, in my original plan, I figured we'd probably bundle up and go hike, but this meant that we could go for a float trip, which is what we call it in Missouri. Whenever you rent a canoe and you go down a river with canoes and paddles, it's a float trip. And as I saw the weather, I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. We're going to get to go on a float trip. Who would have thought in the middle of winter? So that is what we did. I told Luke about the surprise about an hour before his mom was to get there, because I was just going to say, like, when his mom showed up, she's here, we're leaving, let's go somewhere for your birthday. But I thought he's probably going to want to prepare just a little bit, like do a few things with the animals, get the farm ready for us to leave for the day, get himself a dry bag and some dry clothes for the river. So I did end up telling him about an hour before, and we just had the best day. We didn't do anything much beyond sitting in a canoe for about 4 or 5 of the hours. Then we went to a small town nearby. We wanted to get coffee, but the only coffee shop there was closed. So we went and got gas station coffee, walked around this little town in and out of some of the shops. They weren't even that great. There was like a general store shop and a thrift shop. Then we just drove and looked at old farmsteads. We found all the back roads that we could to look at old farmsteads in our area, listen to music, and we both decided, well, Luke especially said that that was like the best possible thing we could have done for his 40th birthday. It doesn't require much for us, but just some time alone to talk, to listen to music really was much, much needed. Now, Victor, he doesn't really take a bottle. So it worked out though. We're able to, my mother-in-law and one of my daughters was able to kind of like cup feed him and also give him a little bit of food. So a banana. Anyways, we made it work. But I thought this was a worthwhile occasion. I'm usually one to just say, until the baby's weaned, I don't like pumping. I never pump. I never do bottles. I'm just going to take the baby with me. But this was a special occasion. It was his 40th birthday. And we definitely made the most of it. We felt refreshed. The next night, Luke's like, hey, let's go on a drive again, even for only 30 minutes. That was so great. So then the next day, the day after his 40th birthday, we also just went on like a little 30-minute drive because it was just refreshing and one to remember. For his 30th birthday, I had the same idea that the two of us would just go somewhere together. At that time, our youngest baby was 1 year old, so I was able to leave him overnight. So we just did one night in the city. It was the first time I had ever used Airbnb. I've used it so many times now, but 10 years ago, that was the first time we tried it. I think it was someone's basement, but there was a separate entrance. They had it really decorated cool. We loved it. Again, just the two of us out together. It doesn't take much to please us for a day like that. So the 40th one will be one to remember as well. The goal was just to pack special food and spend some time in nature together. Who knew it was going to be 80 degrees right in the middle of winter?